The first time I saw her, the ship's neon corridors buzzed faintly, humming with the weight of 1,000 unseen circuits. My name, Karenval, was already plastered across every crew manifest, every security screen, and every holo terminal on the Celestial Nomad, but I never expected that it would make anyone freeze. Yet, when she turned, the moment her violet eyes scanned the roster and landed on my name, everything changed. I had been in the transport bay, checking supplies and recalibrating the grav lifts, when she appeared, an anomaly even aboard a vessel that welcomed oddities as its bread and butter. She was tall, impossibly slender, with hair that shimmered like liquid silver and a uniform that seemed woven from shifting light. No insignia, no rank, only an aura of quiet command. The crew gave her a wide berth, whispering questions into comms channels I didn't bother listening to.
She didn't speak.
She only looked. And then she went silent. The silence wasn't mere pause. It was a presence. It pressed against the air like a tide, pulling all attention toward her. When she finally moved forward, her steps were so soft they made no sound, yet the ship seemed to listen. The hatch she passed through closed behind her with a gentle click, and I thought of turning back to my work, pretending I hadn't noticed. But the moment her gaze had lingered on my name, I felt recognized. Like a memory I had forgotten but that existed somewhere, just beneath the skin. I found myself following, tracing the echo of her steps through the dim corridors. My comm link hummed a quiet alert. She wasn't on the manifest. Not anywhere. Her identification was nowhere in the ship's database. That alone would have been enough to make me pull the emergency protocols, but curiosity pinned me in place, like a moth under glass. She stopped at the observation deck, staring out at the stars. Not just the ordinary stars that blinked in the void, but a sector of deep, uncharted nebulae that the Nomad was currently exploring. Light from distant suns refracted across the viewing dome, casting her face in surreal hues of purple and gold. And she didn't turn when I approached. I'm Karenval, I said, because apparently that was all I could think to say. She blinked once.
Twice.
And then, finally, a whisper broke the silence. Karenval? Her voice was soft, but it carried weight. It was disbelief, reverence, and fear all at once. Her hand lifted slightly, trembling, and I noticed her fingers were glowing faintly, almost like the nebulae beyond. "Do I know you?" I asked, trying to mask the tremor in my voice. Her eyes widened, and she took a step back. "No, you don't understand. You shouldn't exist here." I frowned. "Excuse me?" Her gaze darted back to the stars, to the swirling clouds of cosmic dust. "The temporal rift, the one near Epsilon 7. You're not meant to have survived it." The air seemed to tighten around me. My mind raced. The temporal rift was a phenomenon we had been warned about for decades, a tear in space-time rumored to erase entire ships, crews, sometimes entire colonies. We had drifted near its coordinates weeks ago, mapping its gravitational currents. I remembered the incident. A sudden surge, alarms blaring, a shimmer across reality like liquid glass, and then nothing. Or so I thought. "You're saying I should be dead?" I asked, half in disbelief, half in awe. Her lips quivered.
"No, you shouldn't exist."
"And yet you do." The silence returned, but heavier this time, laden with secrets she wasn't ready to speak aloud. I studied her, trying to piece together the fragments of her presence. Something about her aura screamed authority, but also desperation, as if the universe itself had tasked her with a mission she couldn't complete. "Who are you?" I pressed. Her eyes finally left the nebula. "I am an observer, assigned to track temporal anomalies."
"But you..."
"Karen, You are an anomaly even I cannot explain." Her words made my stomach drop. I had always believed in science, in charts, calculations, and logic. Yet here was someone claiming that I was impossible. I leaned closer, compelled by a mix of fear and fascination. "Why me?" Her gaze faltered. "Because you carried the Chronos signature." I blinked. The Chronos signature was the stuff of legends. A unique temporal resonance that appeared in beings who had interacted with the rift and survived its paradoxical effects. It wasn't just rare, it was considered a warning, a cosmic red flag. Only the most dangerous anomalies carried it, and the consequences of exposure were unpredictable. "And now?" I asked. She shook her head, running her hand through her shimmering hair. "Now, I don't know what to do. You should have been deleted, absorbed, rewritten. Yet you walked out of the rift. You," her voice broke. "You could unravel reality itself." I stumbled back. My pulse thundered in my ears. "Unravel reality?" "Yes." She stepped closer, cautiously. "Time itself could bend around you. Past, present, future. They could all shift, merge, or vanish if you interact with the wrong systems." I felt a cold shiver. All those missions, all those routines aboard the Nomad, suddenly seemed fragile, fleeting. And yet, her fear wasn't just professional. It was personal. Something about my existence mattered deeply to her. "You're scared of me," I said, half in wonder, half in accusation. Her eyes met mine fully for the first time. "I've never been afraid like this," she admitted. "Not of weapons, not of death, not of the void. But you're different. You're a paradox walking in a universe that doesn't allow paradoxes." We were silent for a long moment, the hum of the ship and the distant stellar winds filling the void between us. Then, without warning, she turned and walked toward the ship's command deck. I followed, compelled, hesitant, and increasingly aware that my very presence might be altering the reality around me. The bridge was deserted. Crew members had retreated, murmuring about the strange observer who had appeared aboard their vessel. She stepped onto the captain's console, scanning its systems with hands that glowed faintly. "This ship, it's vulnerable," she said. "The rift's influence may have reached here. I can stabilize it, but I need your cooperation." "Cooperation?" "From me," I asked. "You carry the signal," she explained. "Without it, the device I brought cannot synchronize with the ship's core. If it fails, it could erase this vessel from history." I swallowed hard. "And you expect me to just help?" Her violet eyes bore into mine. "Yes." "Because if you don't, I don't think anyone else can." I nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation in ways I couldn't fully articulate. Together, we moved through the bridge, her glowing fingers tracing circuits, mine adjusting calibrations under her guidance. The interface accepted her commands but hesitated at mine, as if reality itself were questioning my right to exist. Minutes stretched into hours. Every time I adjusted a setting, a flicker of the stars outside seemed to warp, like light bending around an invisible object. Her hand would hover near mine, guiding subtly, ensuring I didn't make a mistake. And through it all, she never spoke more than necessary, yet her silence was charged with meaning, a mixture of awe, fear, and something I couldn't yet name. Finally, she stepped back, her eyes scanning the console. "It's done," she whispered. "For now. But Karen, you must understand, your presence here is unstable. The rift has marked you. You are a bridge between what is and what should be. And someday, you may be forced to choose which reality survives." I stared at her, unable to respond. Every word felt like the weight of the cosmos pressing against my chest. Then, without another word, She turned and walked toward the observation deck again. I followed instinctively, knowing that her departure would leave a void I couldn't bear. She stopped at the glass, staring into the nebula. "I have to leave," she said softly. "I can't remain here without disrupting the timeline further." "Will I see you again?" I asked. Her eyes met mine one last time, shimmering with a strange intensity. "Perhaps, if the universe allows it. But for now, remember this. Every choice you make could echo across time. Every step, every name you speak could matter." And then she was gone. The doors hissed shut behind her, leaving only the hum of the ship and the endless stars beyond. I stood there, trembling, staring at my reflection in the glass. My name, my existence, it had meant something. More than I could understand. And somewhere out there, a being I could barely comprehend had recognized that truth. In the following days, the crew whispered about the mysterious observer, about her silence, about the strange energy that had seeped into the ship's systems. I never told them the whole story. How could I? Even I didn't fully understand it. But every time I passed a terminal or caught a glimpse of my name in the manifest, I felt her eyes on me. And I knew, without question, that my existence had changed the universe in ways I would spend the rest of my life discovering. The stars outside continued to swirl, indifferent yet alive, and somewhere beyond them, she was watching, waiting, and perhaps hoping. And I had survived. But for how long? That only time would tell. After she vanished, the celestial nomad felt different. The hum of the engines, the subtle vibrations through the deck, even the air itself, all seemed thicker, charged with possibilities I hadn't noticed before. Days passed, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental had shifted. It wasn't just the ship. It was me. I was different. At first, the crew thought I was overworked. My sudden obsession with star charts, temporal anomalies, and energy fluctuations seemed excessive. But the truth was far stranger. I could feel it, the faint pull of the temporal rift, tugging at the edges of my perception. I could sense distortions before they happened, like ripples across the surface of a pond. Every choice I made caused subtle echoes, sometimes in the ship's systems, sometimes in my own thoughts. Then, one night, I woke to a shimmering light in my quarters. The room was empty, yet the air vibrated, and a faint voice whispered my name. I froze. The voice was unmistakably hers. "Karen." I ran to the observation deck, heart hammering, and saw her standing outside the viewing dome, not inside the ship. Her figure shimmered, translucent, like she was both there and not. "Impossible," I muttered. "I warned you," she said softly, eyes reflecting the nebulae. "The rift reaches beyond ships, beyond walls, beyond time. I can appear where reality is thinnest." I swallowed. "Why now? What do you want from me?" She studied me for a long moment. "You've survived longer than any anomaly should. You've adapted, even evolved. And now, Karen, the universe is ready for your choice." Choice. My pulse raced. "I don't understand." She stepped closer, though the air seemed to part around her. "You carry the Chronos signature. That signature is both a key and a weapon. A universe can only sustain one timeline. The rift, it's unstable. One path must prevail. You must decide which reality continues." I felt the weight of the cosmos in her words. 1,000 possibilities stretched before me, some horrifying, some miraculous, all terrifying. And yet, amidst the chaos, I saw clarity. I could not choose selfishly. I could not preserve one path simply because it was familiar. I choose balance," I whispered. Her eyes widened. "Balance, not survival. Not dominance. balance. That is unprecedented. With a gesture, her glowing hand touched the hull of the ship. Energy flowed from her, from me, from the very core of the rift. Stars outside warped and shimmered as timelines folded and intertwined. I could feel every decision, every path, every life stretching out and converging. And then calm. The nebulae outside returned to their slow, swirling beauty. The ship hummed a steady, even rhythm. I looked at her. She smiled, the first time, and it was like sunlight through storm clouds.
You did it, she said.
You preserved everything without destroying anything. Not even I thought it was possible. I shook, unable to speak. My name, my life, my very existence, it had all mattered in ways I could never have imagined. She turned toward the observation deck doors. I must go. My duty continues elsewhere. But Karen, remember this. Every choice, every action, every name matters, especially yours. Before I could reply, she stepped into the stars, fading into the nebula. For a long moment, I thought I imagined it. Then the ship's systems, the stars, even my own heartbeat, seemed to acknowledge her departure, leaving me both alone and profoundly connected to the universe. In the days that followed, the crew noticed subtle changes. Our readings of the temporal rift stabilized. Systems that were prone to glitches ran smoother. Even minor anomalies in distant star systems resolved themselves. The universe was not only intact, it was better. And yet, I knew she was still out there, somewhere between time and space, observing, waiting, guiding. Every time I saw my name on a terminal, every time a new crew member joined or a mission began, I felt her silent presence. The universe had marked me as a paradox, but paradoxes, I realized, were not inherently destructive. They were necessary. They were proof that existence could endure, even against impossible odds. Years passed. I continued to serve aboard the Celestial Nomad, exploring uncharted sectors, studying temporal anomalies, always feeling that subtle tug of destiny that had first brought her to me. And though I never saw her again in person, sometimes, just sometimes, I would hear her whisper in the hum of the ship, "Karen Vol, you matter." And I would smile, knowing that somewhere in the infinite expanse of stars, someone had seen my name, and in doing so, had changed everything. I had survived. I had endured, and the universe, against all odds, had allowed me to exist.